Ometeot. Well, Ometeot is a Nahuatl word, and Ome literally translates to two, the number two, and Teot is spirit. And so when we say Ometeot, we're acknowledging the two spirits, the female and male energies, and that's who we respectfully acknowledge, Ometeot.
When you grow up in the United States,
Yes.
the kids, where I'm from, the West,
Yes.
kids like to play the game cowboy and Indian. Indians were always the ones that had to die, because the cowboys had to be triumphant, because it's a white culture, and everybody wanted to be the cowboy, but not me. I don't know why. I seen the Indians in the movies or pictures, and I thought, I like them. Who are they? Then later on, when I was 16, some performers, another group went to my school when I was 16, and they did a presentation in our class, and they put the address on the board for where they have their practice, and I went to their practices, and then I haven't stopped. So we called our nation Mexico, and the Spanish people couldn't say Mexico, so they said Mexico. You have these families that they don't know who they are. Maybe they relate to Catholicism. Maybe they're American only. Maybe they say no, we're Mexican or Chicano. But then there's one that will say no, I'm Indian. I can feel it inside of me. The Chicano people are the Mexican people born on the north side of the border. People consider me Chicano, even though myself I don't say I'm a Chicano. Not really feeling like I belonged somewhere for a long time. When I finally said, no, wait a minute, let me start to look into my roots, into my past, and I realized, no, I come from indigenous people. It gave me a confidence. It gave me something to stand on, and people can say whatever they want to me now, and I don't get offended, because I know who I am. I know where I come from. I know where I'm going and what I'm doing, because I have a direction, and it's based on my history and my ancestry.
En esta tierra bendita está el Anahuac también. Y aquí vamos a darnos cuenta de este trabajo, de esta responsabilidad que cada una de ustedes va a seguir. Quiero que sienten, que contacten con los abuelos para que sea más fácil la conexión que ustedes van a asumir con los Popochcomitl. Cerrando sus ojitos, vamos a hacer un ratito una película y van a ver cómo manera tan grande y maravillosa esa ciudad, con tanto respeto, con tanto amor, y de todos esos abuelos y abuelas que son las que nos han dejado esta tradición, que son las que nos han encomendado que las mujeres de ahora sigamos este mismo camino, que no lo dejemos perder, aunque no estemos en México.
¿Qué fue lo que te hizo querer perseguir todo esto?
Pues conocer y sentir
To know and to feel.
todo lo que es esa tradición, esos conocimientos.
Sé que como a la edad de los 40 hay muchas cosas que ya están establecidas en tu vida. La casa, los niños, ya tienes hijos y muchas cosas la vida ya tuvo un curso. ¿Cómo fue tan fuerte este cambio que tú quisiste hacer en tu vida?
Porque precisamente como ya los niños habían crecido, yo quería algo para mí.
Axcanseica, Litlasocamachililia, Tlalcihuatlapa, Chaneque, Yeyan, Yaocihuatzin, Temotzitco, Tlatlauqui, Tezcatlipoca, Mixcoat, Tzotzona, Tecocoltin, ¡Ome!
Señor Chipetote, te damos las gracias por habernos permitido. Ayúdanos y ilumínanos para que sigamos adelante en este camino de las portadoras de fuego. Él es Dios. Él es Dios. Se acercan siempre, carguen un morral con carbón, con ocote, con estas cosas, porque no saben en qué momento no pueden prender el fuego. Ustedes se dan cuenta, están muy malas y luego prenden el sábado, les soplan y están echando toda su energía, todo su coraje. Entonces, no se vale, porque los demás son los que tienen que estar protegidos. Y solamente el fuego es el que sí se limpia uno, sí se libera, pero nos pasa una volar a nosotros.
This amador, or Popochcomitl in the Nahuatl language, is in honor of the eagle. It has 3 eagle heads here at the bottom, and then on top here you can see the eagle head, and it starts off with the serpent all the way around, wrapping it. And this is the one that I use in danza. It has a meaning. Some women make their own, actually. They're made out of clay. This one was gifted to me, and it has the eagles, and that's a very special bird and energy and spirit that calls me and that I work with. on a daily basis. And then this Samador, or Popochcomitl, I was taught is the original ones that were used in the ancient times before the Spanish conquest. It has this long handle here. And if you see too around the museums in Mexico City or even here in New York, you'll most likely see one this style rather than the cup on top. And this one has jaguars on the legs. It's actually, the jaguar is also one of the days on our Mexica calendar, and another important energy that we bring into our lives. Our elders tell us to not be warriors, to be warriors, jaguar warriors, like our ancestors. And a face here, a jaguar warrior. But then there's other people who say this is a man's Popochcomitl, because actually men did carry the fire back in the days. But nowadays in danza groups, you'll see it's mainly just women. And we started our own Kalpulli. So my sister and I carry the fire for our group. We have a nice ceremony where the Capitana Guadalupe came from Mexico, from the danza Azteca Tecamac in Mexico, and gave us official permission to use the Popochcomitl. But we had been using it before out of a need and the people wanting us to. So that's kind of how I got initiated into carrying this sacred instrument in danza. And there's many ways that a woman can come to
Con este Popochcomitl, cuando uno lo está curando, tiene uno que entregarse con él, hablar, pedirle que nos ayude, y tiene dos trabajos, el bueno y el malo, la energía blanca y la energía oscura. Entonces, yo no recomendaría que lo trabajaran para cosas malas, porque eso se regresa y a uno le va muy mal, muy mal. Al contrario, esto es para dar armonía, para dar tranquilidad, para dar salud, para armonizar casas o armonizar una danza. Y siempre que se utiliza, siempre se pide permiso a los 4 rumbos: izquierda y derecha, para abrir la energía.
And then this one is actually not activated, meaning it's brand new, and it has 3 faces of Tlaloc, which has to do with the rain, water, fertility, the thunder, storms, hail. Tlaloc is, I was born on the day of At. On our calendar, that's the day of the water. At is water. Do a lot of prayers every day with the water, and so this is a very special one for me, and it just came recently. So I'm going to initiate it with the whole process the way I was taught many years ago, and start using it too in the danza ceremonial way of life.
I see my whole nation of Mexican people as indigenous people because they never lost their real names for them. It got butchered in the pronunciation. Especially what I see here in New York, a lot of my people are suppressed. You know, they live in fear, they hide. I myself, when I go do a presentation in the community, I try to use it as a means to inform everyone that my people belong here, that we are not illegal, that we have rights just as everyone else does. And I try to let my people know, don't be afraid, you need to stand up, because that's the only way for us to move forward in this life is by standing up against oppression. You know?
Bueno, entonces ahora sí vamos a dar inicio con la banda una vez más. ¡Fuertes aplausos! Eso, bienvenidos, bienvenidos. Ahora sí la banda.
Cuando comenzaste a hacer esto, ¿tú cómo veías que toda la familia había sido el impacto? ¿Como una gran noticia o que si nosotros ya lo sabíamos? ¿O cómo te recuerdas tú que lo tomamos todos?
Mis hijos estaban pequeños, de 10, 11 años, más chicos, el más chico de 6, pero era una cosa que les motivaba, les gustó. Con mi mamá no estaba de acuerdo.
¿Que si sabes por qué? ¿Te recuerdas por qué?
No, ella era muy... no le gustaba esto. No comprendía lo grande que es de conocimiento,
all this knowledge.
de disciplina.
All that
Ella
discipline.
más a sus cosas, a sus creencias,
She was more devoted to her beliefs.
del mundo. Aparte no entendía
She didn't understand
el amor que yo siento por
the
todo
love
esto.
that I felt for all of this.
Sí hubo muchos problemas
There was actually a lot of trouble,
con ella,
a lot of problems with her.
me criticaban mucho,
She used to criticize me a lot.
pero aún así yo no hacía caso. Y
Still
yo
I was
continué.
indifferent to her and I continued.
En una ocasión,
In one occasion,
mi hermano mayor,
my oldest brother,
ya en su lecho de muerte,
almost about to die,
me dijo
he told me
que él veía
that
una pirámide.
he told me that he was seeing a pyramid. He was dying actually in the hospital.
Que cómo era posible
That how it was possible
que yo,
that she
estando cuidándolo,
was taking care of him.
él podía conectarse
He was able to connect
con esas energías.
with those energies.
si él
if he
no le gustaba.
never liked it.
Y siempre me habían criticado.
And always most of her family criticized her, judge her.
Entonces es cuando yo más amé
That's when I loved the most
todo esto que
all
hacemos.
of this that we are doing.
Y es una lucha,
And it's
una
a
lucha
fight, it's a
constante
struggle, a constant fighting
para aprender,
to learn,
seguir
to follow,
y respetar
and respect
toda esta tradición.
all of this tradition.
Good to see you too. So my sister Quetziquetl asked for this mother blessing, and usually the mother blessings are done about a month before a woman's due date, and it's just a ceremony where she invites the women important in her life, and we all come together with songs, poetry, our artistic talents, food, gifts for her, to honor her, to make her feel just good, better, prepared to give birth.
My name is Gustavo. I love my mom. I pray she's nice, mom, and happy. I'm so proud of your mom. I'm impressed to having babies. Because honey, no house. You helped all your family. You're kind. You do everything. I love you, Mom, because I love you so much. And I love you.
It's been an honor to know you ever since, and thank you so much for letting me. It was important for me to have this space and not just be like, oh, I have my own apartment, but I wanted to do stuff where we come together as women, as family, and you're gonna be another wonderful mother. There's gonna be 4 boys, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy for you, and I wish you the best and everything that you need for your life.
I'm also very excited to meet the baby, and one mistake that I did all my entire life is that I didn't spend time with my brothers. I have 3 brothers. The smallest one, I didn't even meet him since last year. But when this one gets born, I want to be there the entire time when we dance together. I want to hold his hand the whole entire time. I want to get close to the baby because that's what I'm learning to do now, to get close to my brothers so I can understand them and they're understanding me. Like that actually that makes me extremely happy.
And we start off by washing her feet with water, which is a cleansing of her. And then she goes on to explain any fears that she has about giving birth. It doesn't matter if it's her first baby, second, third, fourth. Sometimes women have fears, so it's important to either say those out loud or write them on a piece of paper, but to get them out. And then we each take a turn to go talk to the baby. And as we talk to the baby, we paint an image on her belly. And this whole time, someone's making a crown of flowers for her. And then, so she puts that on, we put that on her. And then in the end, someone gives her a nice foot massage. Because pretty much what we're doing is showering her with love. So someone gives her a nice foot massage with cornmeal. The next time she steps on the earth, she's ready. She's released any fears, given some advice, some songs, some poetry, just a bunch of love. And then we just afterwards
ti, Gran Espíritu, por permitirnos aprender de los abuelos y poder continuar nuestras tradiciones, nuestros rezos, por la familia, por nuestra vida, por la medicina. Tlalcihuatzin, por todas las bendiciones. Tlalcihuatzin, por permitirnos poder ser parte y estar aquí, gracias a los espíritus de estos lugares, por permitirnos tener un lugar donde poder rezar. Tlalcihuatzin.
Is it possible to do it again? Can you do another round?
I think I have to go outside.
Oh, you have to go out. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
like they're waiting for me.
Okay.
Since I started dancing 16 years ago, I always dreamed of having a group and being having this as more of a reality in my life, not a hobby. And right now that's what's happening. Right now me and my wife, we have our group. We're establishing our own group. We're running ceremonies. We're doing things as young leaders. That's always been a dream of mine, and for some reason it wasn't happening in Denver. So our group's name, it's Kalpulli Huehuetlahtolli. A Kalpulli is a union of homes, and so if you think about it, it's a union of families as well. That Huehuetlahtolli is that spark of life that created, the universe and the cosmos, and then ultimately created this earth and all of creation. And, so that's who we are. When the community members approached me, they asked if I could start something, if I could run a group, but they wanted it to be done in the traditional manner. So I told them yeah, and that's when I went down to Mexico the first time. I was in communication with my brother Anibal, and I mentioned it to him, and then I went down, and that's when I communicated for the first time with some of the elders that he has connections with. This family, the Aguilar family, and they have the second oldest group in all of Mexico. So I met the guy who's going to inherit all of that from his uncle, who is Margarito Aguilar, and he's the general, he's the general. Interestingly, I was, during one break of the all-night vigil, the velación, I was with one of my friends, and she had a water drum, and we started playing the water drum, and we started singing songs, northern-style songs. And in the morning, this Andres Aguilar comes and talks to me, and he said, I remember hearing some of those songs before. It was pretty interesting, and I've heard of the man that he mentioned. His name was Florencio Yescas. This is the man that was accredited for first bringing danza into the United States. He was part of La Mesa Central, and they knew him well there, and they considered him, as an important member of their group. And so this Andres Aguilar tells me that Florencio Yescas had come into the north. They brought him down, this caravan of northern natives, to meet with our people. And he remembers hearing a gentleman and I think it was his wife or maybe a sister, but they sang with the water drum and they sang with the gourd, and so he had this like vivid memory from his youth of something that I was showing again. He told me that he was interested in possibly supporting us. And he said, but you got to come back in September, because in September, so this was in May, and in September is when the La Mesa Central has their big danza ceremony. And he says, you got to come back in September, and you got to meet, the General Margarito, his uncle. And he said, and we'll talk, we'll see what we can do. I said, okay.
When the Spaniards arrived, they start calling themselves the conquerors. They said they were conquering a continent, a huge portion of land, and the people of it. It was not like that. They were invaders. They were not conquering, because when you want to conquer somebody, you give flowers and you sing to her. Or vice versa, you give looks and smile to him. I don't know. It's a love approaching. That's what I understand as conquering in Spanish. But they understood conquering as being on top of somebody else, above somebody else, especially us as indigenous people. So when these dances became a mix between the European beliefs and our beliefs, they used to call them danza de conquista or conquest dance, because our ancestors were used to approach all the people to Catholicism and their beliefs. So that's why it's called danza de conquista, because now they were spiritually conquering our people. The only way in which we were able to survive was to actually accept their ways.
En eso es donde realmente recae la fe de uno, porque al final de cuentas, si yo veo que la saumadora es una descuidada, yo realmente no necesito de la saumadora, yo como hombre, como danzante. Cuando yo pase a danzar, cuando sea mi turno, de mi palabra, de danzar mi ofrenda, yo le hablo al saumador. Porque primero que nada ustedes tienen que estar en contacto con ese fuego. Quemándose y quemándose y quemándose, hasta que llega el momento en que yo agarro la brasa al rojo vivo y la paso al otro saumador y se la entrego a otra mujercita para que siga con otro fuego. Que es lo que mi mamá va a entregarles. Mi mamá confía en su fe. Lleva una vida, quiero decir, unos 27 años, trabajando su fe, no trabajando necesariamente para la religión católica, no trabajando necesariamente para la cosmovisión mexica, trabajando su fe. Utiliza las formas de la cosmovisión mexica y utiliza las formas de la religión, porque eso es lo que heredamos. No nacimos en época prehispánica. Muchos de nosotros ni siquiera hablamos español, y mucho menos el náhuatl. Y queremos retomar todo eso, tendríamos que irnos a vivir con la gente que sí lo hace. Sería la única manera. Y entonces comprenderíamos un vínculo espiritual fuertísimo. Sí, pero tendríamos que estar allá. Yo por mucho tiempo no quise acercarme a las formas religiosas de la danza, especialmente cuando se trata de la espiritualidad, porque yo no quería formar parte de todo eso. Para mí era bullshit. Y es normal, lo entiendo, porque mucha gente ha sido oprimida con todo ese bullshit. En mi caso yo nunca fui oprimido. Alguna vez platiqué con Omar Aguilar. Él es el hijo menor de Margarito Aguilar. Y platicábamos con él y con Andrés y yo le dije, ¿realmente tú eres religioso? ¿O porque lo heredaste de tu papá y tu papá es religioso, tú lo haces de una manera religiosa. Y él me dijo, ni mi papá es religioso, ni yo soy totalmente religioso. Dice, pero yo no le voy a faltar el respeto a las formas que lograron que mis abuelos sobrevivieran. Es como decir que eso no importó, porque gracias a esa oración, sin importar lo que signifique para el europeo, a mis abuelos les salvó la vida. Entonces yo le voy a rendir honores a esa oración. Entonces yo nunca seré totalmente religioso, pero sí siento que eso les salvó la vida a ellos quienes nos dejaron estas formas. No tengan problemas con la religión. Nuestros abuelos no los tuvieron. Entonces, si tenemos que aprender a hacer oraciones así, no tiene nada de malo. No les va a quitar la vida. A lo mejor nada más tiene que ser de corazón, con mucho respeto. Y hasta ahí. No tiene uno que extasiarse, no tiene uno que crucificarse. Nada más entenderlo, darle el lugar que merece. ¿Qué no ha sido alterado? ¿Qué no ha sido mezclado? ¿Qué no ha sido invadido? Sí hay, pero no en las danzas que nosotros llamamos mexicas o aztecas o tenochcas o concheras. En esas no están. Hay que aceptar esa parte. Esto no es un ritual primitivo. Tiene su raíz primitiva porque hay un fuego, pero ha tenido que adaptarse, evolucionar y adoptar las maneras en las que el mundo está cambiando. No podemos evitarlo. Ahora más que nunca, las danzas que hacemos son urbanas. Son una expresión urbana de espiritualidad. Son un grito desesperado por decir, estoy harto de la ciudad, necesito volver a tener un poco de mi humanidad. ¿Quién se va a aventar la bronca de decir, órale, todos nosotros queremos estar en contacto con la tierra? Yo abogo por todos ellos, yo meto las manos al fuego por todos ellos. Son ustedes.
It was in 1985. My parent was always in this crazy search for our identity, and somehow he went out around the entire planet looking for the answers. And one day he ended up finding this guy that was speaking about our roots, and he liked it. So he took us a couple of times to see his conferences and his dances, and then we end up following my dad and my mom's will to pursue this tradition. So we entered in that tradition at that time. And as I mentioned before, we actually started dancing the 3rd of September of 1986. But maybe a couple of years prior to that, we were already learning a little bit of it and approaching to the tradition as people with more like Western ways of education. So that's when I started having the switch between one to the other.
Andres told me to make el estandarte, a pantli, our flag, that would symbolize who we are as a community. So we made one. We took it down there in September, and their ceremony lasts 4 days. So you gotta imagine that after 2 days, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're completely spent. I'm trying to initiate some type of communication with, this elder. After we had this lengthy conversation, it was probably about 2 hours in his living room, and he finally said, okay. He said, I'm going to give you the right to have your group in the traditional way. So in the morning, before we left, we had to open up our estandarte, our flag, and we presented it in front of the main altar in La Mesa Central, and they smudged it off with the copal smoke, and they prayed over it, and that's when we have our official, our traditional, I guess I would say, foundation of the group, which was a year later. And now we're going on 4 years of having our annual ceremony here. So that's kind of how we came to be.
¿Cuál sería tu mensaje para las generaciones futuras?
En primer lugar,
To begin with,
que respeten y llamen mucho a su tierra, a sus raíces, para que puedan tener esa comunicación y puedan continuar con todos estos, si digo legados, que nos han dejado nuestros abuelos.
that our ancestors left for us.
Para que puedan continuar y ser unos hombres de verdad. Eso es lo que como mayores debemos enseñar a nuestros hijos para que puedan continuar y ellos transmitir a sus hijos.
Because that is our actual mission. ¿Cómo tú explicarías ser gente de verdad? O como lo habías mencionado. Hombres de verdad.
Hombres de verdad. Pues saber lo que uno quiere, respetar todo, tanto elementos como hermanos, gente, animales, y saber trabajar, amar y cuidar la tierra, porque es lo que nos enseña a ser verdaderos. Si no sabemos amar y respetar toda la tierra, todo lo que nos rodea,
that is around us, creation itself.
Estamos vacíos de nuestro corazón
in our hearts.
Y no podríamos enseñar nada.
And we could not be able to teach anything, to share anything. Dice que a lo mejor estás hablando de los mexicanos modernos, pero también podría aplicarse a toda la gente en general.
No, es todo el planeta,
general, the entire planet.
Todos, porque todos somos uno, todos vivimos aquí.
Somehow we all are one, we all are related,
y
we all live
todos
here.
necesitamos de
And
la
we all
tierra,
need from Mother Earth, from the
de
elements,
los árboles,
from the
de los
trees,
elementos.
from the elements, from everything.
Cuidar el agua,
Take
cuidar
care of water,
todo.
take care of everything.
Y eso no es nada más en México.
And that is
en
not
todo
only
el mundo.
needs to happen in Mexico, it needs to be happening everywhere.
Es en todas las culturas.
It's in every culture, all the cultures.
vida, y queremos ver esa energía, esa belleza brilla en las vidas de los niños. Porque allá afuera es muy pesado a veces. Yo a veces me siento como tengo, pues, es difícil de explicar porque aunque me nací aquí, soy mexicano, pero ya sé que muchos de los que estén presentes aquí llegaron nada más para hacer algo con sus vidas. Yo me vi a mis compadres de aquí, la familia, y pasó 14 años de familia sin ver. Me da tristeza, me lastima. Yo quiero que haya algo más. Y es para los niños. Rompemos la frontera en las maneras que podemos. Con esa danza es lo que estamos tratando de hacer. Crear y construir una puente desde aquí hasta allá. Que me dan como tanta alegría que yo pude ver esta familia reunida otra vez después de tantos años. Sin pensar, sin saber, nada, ya pasó. Y ya sé que es por la danza, porque fue lo que el creador permitió. Nada más, con esas palabras, gracias, Andrés, general, Dios, Tita, Él es Dios. Foundation of all of life is a mixture of fire and water. Fire and the water come together in order to create life, and people don't understand that until I tell them what's in the middle of the earth, the center, the core of our earth. It's fire. What's all the way around it? Water. So we can look at it as in a couple ways. When a man and a woman come together, they make another energy, another life.
Hello, my name is Quetziquetl. I was born in Mexico City. When I was living in Mexico, actually, I wasn't dancing over there. I wasn't close to these traditions. I knew about it, and I used to go and see, When you get here and you find that there's danza here, it's really amazing. And to go to join right away because it's something that you really need in here, because we are lonely sometimes in here, and danza helps us to be strong. So I start dancing in here, and I start feeling the love for the traditions in here, for our traditions, and follow and pray that way and join the community that was already here. So when we were already together, we decided to start our group, dancer group. this is the result of our relationship. And he's dancing also with us. He's already dancing and enjoying the beauty of our tradition. So
our son, Tlalcihuatzin, is his name, Tlalcihuatzin Hilario Jaramillo.
we start talking about to have our own Kalpulli, the danza group, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my husband been saying, like, are you sure? It's a lot of work. And we were like, yeah, we can do this. We've been doing it.
But we are. Yeah.
I mean,
4 years.
And it's just because, when you feel it, it's just there for you. It's not hard. One of the ceremonies that we do, it's the naming ceremony, that it's for the newborns. We present them to the spirits, to our ancestors. We go to the 4 directions and we say the name of the child, and then we present.
And presenting them to the elements and to all of the universe, not just our ancestors, but to creation as a whole, but also to the community, the physical community, so they learn their name. So, and then you blow the caracol to send out that vibration to those 4 directions, so that way their name is known throughout all of the universe by all of creation.
Yeah, and we also, use the copal, because that's the way then we bless them, we welcome them to this world, and then now they're part of our community. Our community knows them already now, and then our new pets start in a tradition.
We give them godparents as well. Just in case something happens to one of the parents, then the godparents there to kind of look after the child and kind of guide them or teach them things that maybe the parents don't see or don't know as well.
Fire is the connection that we do have here at the house when we cook. That's the same fire that is up there at the sky, the sun. It's our Father. We see it like that. We pray for him. We ask, Father, help us whenever we need.
Ashkan Tlalcihuatzin, Anahuac, Chaneke, Inyeyan, Nanansin, Metzli, Tlalcihuatzin, Teyukuyani, Makwili, Ometeo.
It's the life that the 2 energies create the earth was created because the fire and the water came together, and as it mixed, life began to grow. The land that we know was formed, the plants grew, life creation started to happen because those two elements and energies combined. As indigenous people, we understood that when you combine those two energies together, you have creation.
Tlalcihuatzin, Tatewari, Huehuetlahtolli. Mi nombre es Yaocihuatzin, la hija de María y Abelino Vázquez y mi papá en el Camino Rojo, Cuautli Vázquez. Tlalcihuatzin, a los elementos por mi vida y la vida de mis hijos, mis 2 hijos y este bebé que viene, y también por mi esposo, Rudy, Mexica, nuestra familia, nuestra casa, nuestro Kalpulli Huehuetlahtolli, nuestros altares, Teocalli Quetzalcoatl, Temazcal, y por toda la medicina que tenemos en nuestras familias. Y nada más esta noche aquí con la abuelita Luna Metzli, rezando por la comunidad y pues por todo en el camino, por todos nuestros niños, nuestros hijos. Que acaba de pasar también Día de los Muertos y pensando en todos los ancestros, todos los abuelos, abuelas que nos dejaron esta tradición. Y honrándolos a ellos siempre, usando el fuego para comunicar con los abuelos para poder seguir adelante. Sanamas Tlalcihuatzin al Gran Espíritu, a los abuelos, a nuestra Madre Tonancintlali, a los elementos, la naturaleza, por todos los regalos que tenemos, por nuestras familias, nuestros grupos de danza, nuestras familias de Sundance, de medicina, y nada más Tlalcihuatzin por todo lo bonito que sigue. Y nada más esta noche que esté llena de bendiciones para toda la familia en todas partes del mundo, mucho amor y paz en todo el mundo para seguir mejor como humanos. Y nada más así, Tlalcihuatzin, aho, hometeo.
I've put myself, my own safety, my own freedom, my own well-being, I've put it on the line for people, for actual individuals that don't have documents. And I believe that, because of the injustice I've seen that has been generationally perpetuated upon my people. Like, danza for me is like that. I see it as a platform for us to find grounding. And the big picture ultimately is that all of us have had a connection at some point through history and time to Earth and to the universe and to nature and to her vibrations and to communicating with her, not through words, how we understand communication, but through the feelings of our vibrations that we give off and that all life gives off and all beings and make the makeup of what is the universe, how that vibrates and being able to communicate with it. That ultimately is what I see helps balance us out, so that way we can start moving in a more positive direction. This ideal of trying to make positive change has nothing to do with me anymore. It has to do with my kids. It has to do with the kids that are coming. It has to do with the kids across the globe. Because they're the ones that are going to inherit this earth. And if we don't change things, even in our own personal lives and our way of being, then we will lose. And they're going to be the ones to suffer for it.
Entrando a un nivel ya de conciencia del mundo, todo este movimiento se está manifestando y está creciendo. Él lo ve que, por ejemplo, aquí en Estados Unidos crece mucho la idea de practicar yoga, meditar, comer comida saludable, hacer ejercicio, preservar la naturaleza. En todo el mundo, de hecho, está funcionando, pero ¿cómo ves tú o desde cuándo crees tú que en México este cambio se ha dado y ha progresado? ¿Cómo ha progresado? ¿Cuál es tu perspectiva? ¿Cuál es la vista que tú tienes de todos estos cambios a nivel conciencia? No necesariamente en la tradición que nosotros practicamos, pero en general el cambio de conciencia ante la realidad del mundo.
Sí, en México ya tiene años atrás que estas búsquedas han sido más persistentes.
In Mexico, it's been for some years already that all this search for being different, more consciousness, it's been working, and they are more insistent.
Y siento que
And I
también
feel also that
en otros países
in other countries
es lo mismo,
it's the same,
porque andamos buscando
because we all are looking for
una conciencia espiritual
an spiritual awareness,
para alimentarnos
so we can feed ourselves with it
para tiempos
for
que ya vienen.
future hard times that are upcoming.
Scary.
Not necessarily, but warning
Es una preparación.
is a preparation.
Yeah. I mean, the world is in some ways collapsing.
Yes, dice que de cierta manera el mundo se está colapsando.
Sí.
Yeah.
Eso
It's
sí.
very
Todo.
apparent everywhere.
Es muy aparente en todos lados.
Esto ya es una necesidad muy fuerte.
It is already
Toda la
a
gente.
huge necessity within the entire planet.
I'm good.
That was a good ending.
Yeah.
Van al baño. I mean, they're going to.
Good.
Okay, gracias.
Gracias.
Estuvo bien.
Gracias a todos.
So,
Yeah, we can switch up.
thank you very much.
Es un
It
placer.
was
Thunder
beautiful.
She said it was a pleasure.
Oh, great.
Y que te ves muy bonita.
Okay.